So I'm talking to a homeowner over the phone, and we're talking about houses, because that's what I do most days. And I say to the guy, so what's your loan limit? You know, your housing budget? Loan limit? What loan limit? Guess what, folks? That's what we're talking about today.
Welcome to 772 Living with Lisa.
And guess what? I've got a special guest today to help us out. Well, hello and welcome back. It's Lisa Ammons, your friendly real estate broker here in South Florida, and today I have a special guest. I have Bryant Stuckey with SWBC Mortgage today, and we are going to enlighten you about lending. So sit tight. We're going to break this down to a 4-part video series. So let's just dive right on in. Okay, so I know you've heard me talk about in other videos how important it is to get a pre-approval letter. And it is, because you need to know how much you can spend. But the bottom line is, it reduces stress. So, Brian, tell me, what do you need to have in order to get a pre-approval?
Well, pre-approvals are not technically as complex as people think, but they do rely on 3 major pieces. There's the credit piece, the income piece, and assets. So when you're getting a good full pre-approval, you want to be able to validate all 3 of those. Now that can be done by, obviously credit is just pulling your credit report. Now you don't want to have too many people do that, so don't just get on the phone and allow everyone to do it. It's going to affect your scores. But pulling your credit report is always the first piece. Next is your income. I'd love to say everybody knows exactly what their income is, but sadly they don't know. Maybe you can't use the second job, maybe they're self-employed. So I really like to see at least 1 year's tax returns, pay stubs and W-2s. And assets, well, that's simple. That's just a copy of a bank statement to verify you have the money that's needed to purchase the property.
How long does that take for someone to get a pre-approval from you?
Well, if we can sit on the phone, do an application, and if you have that paperwork handy, it can be 30 minutes to an hour. It really doesn't take a long time. It just depends how long it takes for us to be able to get together and put the time into it.
And is there a difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification?
Absolutely. Pre-approval is pretty much what I explained, where we want to go over and validate credit, income, and assets. There are a lot of companies out there, a lot of your internet companies that you can sit with them, do a 5 or 10 minute conversation, and they'll throw you a letter without validating anything. So all that does is that's their opinion, if you will, of how much you can afford, but they don't truly know that, and you don't truly know that because they didn't verify any of that information. So that's just going to waste your time. It's going to waste your realtor's time when you're running around to find out that letter doesn't mean anything really.
Good point. Pre-qualification is simply a piece of paper. But sometimes there's some things that you may forget. So what are the most common mistakes people make when getting the pre-approval or the pre-qualification and they leave out information that maybe you really need to know?
Some of the biggest things people don't think about are actually stating or letting us know if they're self-employed. A lot of times self-employed people think, I show $100,000 in gross receipts, so I make $100,000. That's not necessarily the case for self-employed people, so we really need to see tax returns. There's a net number that we have to use as lenders, so please don't forget to let us know if you're self-employed so we know to look for those adjustments to your income. Again, a second piece on income, I should have put in the first place, but if your income is primarily bonus or commission based,
Right.
we have to have a history of that. So you can't have a base salary and all of a sudden you go to 100% commission and get access to that full income right away. We have to show a history of it, and then we do need to see tax returns. So we're seeing, are you showing that full income on your tax returns, or are you writing off half that income as a result of being a commissioned employee? So again, those are things that people don't think about. They seem to be simple in theory, but they're very complex and can drastically change what we initially start off as a purchase price versus what you might end up with. So we like to do it right the first time. So, it's an emotional enough transaction in the first place to purchase a home. So if we can take the stress out up front before you go purchase that home, like you mentioned, then you can take the happy emotions into looking at homes and knowing with confidence you can write a contract on what you're looking at. The second piece is going to be something a lot of people don't like to talk about, but if you've been divorced and you have any payments as a result of that divorce, and I will say payments, not money coming in, but money going out, we need to know about those. I can't tell you how many times we've sat down with people, gone through the whole process, get to the contract, then we find out, oh, they've been divorced and they have to make alimony or child support payments, and then it's been a waste of time. We have to potentially lower the home purchases that they're doing, and it's not fun. It's not a fun conversation, but it's one we need to know about up front. So don't forget to note that.
Good information. Make sure you have your tax returns, disclose bonus or commissions, and unfortunately, if you're divorced, don't leave that little piece of the puzzle out.
Yep, that is the truth.
I hope that information was informative and you learned something. If you learned anything at all, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you have a question, put a comment below. I'm sure Bryant would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about getting a loan pre-approval. And of course, if I have the answer for you, I will be more than happy to respond to you as well. Of course, we love hearing from you. So now that you have a general idea of what is needed to get a loan pre-approval, what we'd like to talk about next is some of the things that could disqualify you from getting that pre-approval. And that will be in our next video, which I will link up here. So stick around and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Lisa Ammons. Hope to see you soon.